My mother banned my kids from Christmas, so I CUTOFF my toxic family and watched everything fall apart. She said no room for my twins, so I took back gifts, cut the money, and they never expected what I did next. I said, last Christmas, my mom made it perfectly clear that my kids weren't welcome in her house. I was standing by her kitchen island holding a pan of homemade cinnamon rolls. When she looked at me and said it so flatly, I thought I misheard her. No room for your kids this year. Her voice didn't waver. No apology, no explanation, just a sip of her tea like we were discussing the weather. My brother Matt didn't even look up from his phone. He just rolled his eyes. It's better without them anyway. I stood there for a second, cinnamon rolls getting colder in my hands, wondering if this was some kind of joke. But there was nothing in their faces but indifference. Like my twins, Alex and June, 5 years old and full of energy, weren't even part of this family, so I smiled. I didn't argue, didn't raise my voice. I just nodded slowly, said, all right, and walked out. That night, while they were out at some neighborhood cocktail thing, I walked back into their house with a spare key they'd forgotten I still had. I didn't break anything, didn't make a mess. I just quietly, calmly removed every single present from under their Christmas tree, the ones I had wrapped, the ones I had paid for, the expensive skincare set for Mom, the limited edition vinyls for Dad, the latest smartwatch for Matt, all gone. I left a single sticky note under the bare tree. It said, where you left my kids? Nowhere. Then I went home and put those presents under our tree. Mine and the kids. We had our own Christmas, just the three of us. I told them Grandma and Grandpa were sick and Matt went on vacation, so it was just going to be a cozy holiday at home. They were thrilled. Hot chocolate cartoons and unwrapping gifts they had no idea were never meant for them. The next morning, my phone started blowing up. Missed calls, voicemails, even a furious text from my mom asking if I had lost my mind. I didn't reply, but that was just the beginning. I live 3 houses down from them. Same street, same. They never thought I'd actually start pulling away. Not really. I've been their ATM since I got promoted 5 years ago. I've paid off their car loans, sent them on vacations, covered Matt's rent twice. All under the excuse of family helps family, but something changed that day. Something clicked. I saw how disposable we were to them, how my kids were an inconvenience, and for once I wasn't going to swallow it. That was Christmas. By New Year's, the real revenge had already begun. New Year's Eve used to be my mom's favorite holiday. She'd throw these big themed parties where neighbors crammed into their too small living room, pretending they weren't annoyed by each other the rest of the year. Everyone brought overpriced wine, and somehow I always brought the shrimp cocktail tray and footed the bill for the decorations. This time I didn't show up. I stayed home with the kids. We made a blanket fort and watched old cartoons until midnight. I posted one photo, just one, on Facebook. The twins wrapped in fairy lights, laughing with their juice boxes. Happy New Year from our cozy little team. 2 hours later, Matt commented, classic passive-aggressive, guess some of us are too good for family now. I ignored it. That week, Mom called me 4 times. No voicemails, just missed calls back to back. She never left messages. She wanted me to chase. She wanted to guilt-trip me without actually saying anything direct. That was her move. Always has been is that I sent her a message short and cold. I've decided to take a break from being your financial backup. Please adjust your budget accordingly. She read it, never replied. I found out from the neighbor Lydia that my parents had booked a spring cruise. I also found out their card got declined twice. I had canceled the emergency backup credit card I put them on years ago without telling them. I figured if my kids weren't welcome in their lives, my money shouldn't be either. I wasn't expecting the knock on my door that Saturday morning. Who was my dad? He stood there in his weekend golf polo. No hello, just this stunned expression like he couldn't believe I hadn't warned them. He froze the card. We couldn't even pay for the flight to Miami. I told him the truth. It wasn't my job anymore. He asked if I was really going to let my own parents struggle like that after everything they'd done for me. And I asked him one thing in return. Everything like what? He stood there searching for something to say, but came up with nothing. They had always framed their neglect as normal, their coldness as discipline, their disinterest in my kids as being too old for noise. And I had swallowed it for years, thinking maybe they were just bad at showing love. But that day, seeing my father so offended that I had dared stop paying for his lifestyle. It was like a curtain got pulled back. They didn't see me as family. I was a resource, a wallet with a heart they never intended to care for. So I made a decision. No more dinners, no more holidays, no more gifts, and from that day on, I stopped walking the long way past their house. I didn't wave. I didn't check their mail while they were out of town. I stopped pretending. I existed on this street now, but not for them. A few weeks later, I started noticing little things. Their front lawn, usually obsessively maintained, started getting patchy. Weeds near the mailbox, the kind of stuff my dad would have lectured Matt and me about growing up. Their porch light flickered out and stayed that way. I knew exactly what was happening. They were slipping. It didn't take long before I got the call I was expecting, not from them. No, they had enough pride to avoid that, but from the dentist's office. They still had me listed as the emergency contact and billing party. I had completely forgotten. They'd scheduled a cleaning, and the receptionist gently asked if I'd like to keep the $580 balance on my card. I told her no. I told her to remove my name from everything. 2 days later, my mom sent an email, subject line, "We need to talk." She started by saying she was disappointed in the way I'd handled things, that it was unfair to involve the children by keeping them away. Then she shifted to how we're all struggling right now and how family should stick together in hard times. I stared at that sentence for a long time. Family should stick together. The same woman who didn't want my kids in her house now wanted me to cover her dental cleanings. The same woman who once told me that I was being dramatic when I cried from exhaustion after my husband left. Who told me that if I couldn't keep my house in order, maybe I shouldn't have had kids so young. That same woman now wanted grace. I didn't reply. Instead, I sat my kids down and asked them if they liked going to Grandma's. June said no because Grandma never hugged her. Alex said he missed the cookies, but not the way Grandpa told him to pipe down. That was all I needed. I unfriended them on Facebook. I blocked their numbers. I paid off the last little balance on the utilities they had somehow convinced me to co-sign years ago and removed my name from the accounts. They noticed fast. That weekend, I got another visitor. This time, it was Matt. He showed up in his usual worn hoodie and cargo shorts like he still thought he was 22. He didn't even say hi. Just launched into this speech about how I was ripping the family apart and how I was acting like some queen because I had a decent job. I asked him one question: "Have you ever once babysat my kids?" He didn't answer. He didn't have to. He stormed off, muttering something about me being ungrateful. I watched him leave, slowly realizing something I should have figured out years ago. They didn't actually like me. They liked what I gave them. They liked how convenient I was, but I wasn't convenient anymore, and now they were uncomfortable. Good. It started with a sign, "Garage sale, Saturday, 800 a.m. with crooked red arrows leading right to my parents' driveway." I didn't think much of it at first. Maybe they were finally cleaning out the attic or getting rid of those useless holiday decorations no one asked for. But Saturday morning told a different story. I was walking the kids to the park, trying to keep Alex from picking every dandelion in sight when we passed by their house. I slowed down, almost stopped. They weren't spring cleaning. They were selling everything. My mom's collection of designer handbags, the ones she used to brag about in front of the neighbors, lined up on a folding table like knockoff knockdowns. Dad's golf clubs were priced at $35, scrolled in black sharp. There was a basket full of unopened cosmetics, the kind I used to buy her every Christmas. He never used them, but she didn't return them either. She just saved them for resale, apparently. And right there in the middle of the chaos, the crystal punch bowl, the one I wasn't allowed to touch as a kid. I watched a teenager hand over a $10 bill for it. No haggling. I didn't say a word. Just kept walking with the twins and told them we'd stop for ice cream after the park. That evening, there was an envelope in my mailbox. No stamp, just my name written in hard, straight letters. My mom's handwriting definitely inside one sheet of lined paper. At first, I thought it was a letter, but it wasn't. It was a list. Every so-called sacrifice they had made for me, every favor, every loan I never asked for. Bullet points. Let you stay after college breakup, 3 months rent-free. Paid $200 for your car battery in 2011. Babysat for 2 hours when Alex had that fever. Invited you for Thanksgiving in 2019 when you were depressed. At the bottom, she had written, "We never asked for anything." Until now, I just stared at it. No signature, no actual request, just the passive-aggressive math of people who thought raising a child was a tab you could reopen whenever you felt broke. I didn't respond. I put the letter in the junk drawer where it belongs, but that wasn't the end of it. Lydia from across the street caught me while I was bringing in groceries a few days later. She was hesitant, clearly uncomfortable, but eventually she said quietly, "They're telling people you've had a breakdown, that you've been erratic, that you've changed." Of course they were. I had changed. I stopped financing their life. I stopped delivering presents and favors and polite little lies, and now, apparently, I was mentally unstable. That night, I removed my parents from everything official. I updated my emergency contacts at work. I called the twins' school and removed their names from the pickup list. I even made sure they couldn't refill prescriptions under my insurance. I should have done it years ago. Then came the box. It showed up on my doorstep 2 days later, wrapped in pastel paper, no note. My mom had dropped it off herself. According to the doorbell camera, it was supposedly for the kids, something for Easter. She hadn't even bothered to knock. I didn't open it. I stuck it in the hall closet and didn't think twice. But that same night, just before midnight, someone knocked. Not once, not repeatedly, just one hard knock. I checked the camera feed. Who is Matt? Standing there in the dark, staring at his phone, not ringing the bell. He stood for a full 2 minutes, then turned and walked back down the street toward their house. He never messaged, never called. The next morning, one of my tires was flat, slashed clean through. It was the first time I felt real fear, not anger, not frustration, fear, because now it wasn't about money. It wasn't about being excluded from Christmas or guilt tripped into paying for root canals. It was about control, and they didn't have it anymore. I called a tow truck that morning, didn't even bother patching the tire. I knew it had been cut on purpose. Clean slice, no puncture. It was a message. I just didn't know what they expected me to do with it. Run back, beg to be part of the family again, pay them off like I used to. So they miscalculated. I didn't call the police, not yet. But I kept the footage, saved it to 2 different cloud accounts labeled clearly just in case things escalated. And they did. 3 days later, I got a call from an unknown number. It was the property manager for their HOA. My parents had missed their last 2 dues. Not like them, the woman said they were trying to reach someone in the family to settle it, and my name came up because I had once paid a landscaping fine for them years ago. I laughed, actually laughed, told her she might want to call someone who still considers them family. Then I hung up. The next day, I saw something wild. A moving truck, not at my place. At first I thought they were leaving. Finally. But then I saw the boxes weren't labeled for storage or transport. They were just stacked on the lawn like someone had started packing, panicked, and gave up. My dad was on the phone pacing. My mom sat on the porch with sunglasses on, just sitting, not helping, not talking, just watching cars pass. I didn't go over. I didn't offer help because the truth was I finally felt free, not in a petty way, not in a revenge fantasy. Pissed, released. They were collapsing under the weight of the life I used to carry for them, and now that I wasn't holding it up, it was crumbling. Then came the breaking point. They showed up together at my door. No warning, no text, just 2 silhouettes on my porch in the middle of a Tuesday. I opened the door because I wasn't afraid of them. I just wanted it over with. My mom started with this long-winded speech about how families fight, how stress makes people say things they don't mean. My dad mentioned that he'd found a therapist they were willing to talk to as a family. That was the punchline, a therapist. After everything, I told them I had already started seeing one, and she helped me realize something. I owed them nothing. Not my money, not my time, not access to my children, not a seat at my table. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I just said it. You're not good for me or my kids. This is done. My mom started to say something, but I closed the door before she could finish. I watched through the peephole as they stood there, and then they left. They didn't knock again. That weekend, I booked a beach cabin just for me and the twins. We built sand castles, flew a kite, watched the sunset, ate greasy boardwalk pizza. I didn't post anything, didn't text anyone, didn't check email. I finally felt happy, not relieved, not proud, happy. And for the first time in my life, I didn't need anyone else to approve of it. A month passed, maybe a little more, before I heard from any of them again. Not a call, not a knock, not a text, just silence. Peaceful, steady silence. And for the first time, I realized how loud their presence used to be in my life, even when they weren't around. The tension, the guilt, the expectation that I'd eventually cave. I didn't. And they must have finally figured that out, because then came the email. Not from my mom, not from my dad, from Matt. Subject line, let's talk like grown-ups. I almost didn't open it. I was curious. The message was short. He wrote that my parents had fallen behind on mortgage payments, that they'd taken out a helic a couple of years ago when I didn't know about to fund the cruise I never got to hear about, that they were facing foreclosure if they didn't make up the balance. Then at the bottom, one line, they always thought you'd bail them out. What now? There was no apology in it, no admission of what any of them had done, just a bitter little note that stank of resentment and desperation. I didn't reply. A few days later, a for sale sign appeared in front of their house. It didn't even last a full week before it had a red price reduced sticker slapped across the bottom. I guess people didn't want to overpay for a 4-bedroom with peeling shutters and a dead lawn. That Sunday, the kids and I were riding bikes past the street when we saw it. A moving truck, a real one this time. Doors open, furniture being carried out. They were leaving. They didn't look at me, not once. My dad kept his eyes on the driveway. My mom stood near the porch with her arms crossed, but her eyes didn't lift when we passed. Matt wasn't there. Maybe he'd had enough of the show, too. The twins didn't even recognize the house. It had been that long. We didn't slow down. I thought I'd feel triumphant, vindicated, but I didn't. It just felt done. Done with giving pieces of myself to people who used me. Done with pretending that blood makes people family. Done with waiting for them to become people they never wanted to be. That night, I sat in the living room with Alex and June eating popcorn, watching some animated movie they've seen 100 times. They laughed so hard at one part they spilled the popcorn all over the rug. A year ago, I would have sighed, told them to clean it up. This time, I let them giggle, let them roll around in buttery chaos. I was finally the kind of mom I'd always wanted to be. Present, whole, unburdened. There was no more mailbox anxiety, no texts to dread, no favors expected, no envelopes full of emotional debt. Just me, my kids, our life. They moved 3 towns over. I don't know where, I don't care, they don't have my number anymore. They don't know the kids' school, they don't even know where I work. I made sure of that. My kids will grow up safe from their coldness. They'll never again sit quietly in someone's house feeling unwanted. They'll never believe love has to be earned through sacrifice. They'll never become who I had to unlearn. I ended a legacy of emotional debt, and it cost me nothing I ever needed.